welcome to the POD Cast, the Pride of Detroit podcast. Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook, blah, 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 YouTube, Twitch, all that fun stuff. You can go catch us there. We do written content, we do video content, we do audio content, all sorts of stuff to get you your Lions fix. And we all know you're craving Lions fix after what just happened. Detroit Lions 47-7 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk more about what I am calling the Detroit Lions' week from hell, because it was an eventful and mostly very bad week for the Detroit Lions. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I will be your interim head coach of this podcast. Chris is off working over the holidays. We want to wish him the best. I know it's rough to work over the holidays, and I think we've all done it. So good luck to him over there at Fox Sports. If you get a chance, go over there and listen to him. We have a couple guests in his place. As always, of course, we do have Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are we doing tonight?
Just here so I don't get fined.
That's it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Understandable. With us always, not always, sometimes, when we need him, when we like him, we always like him. Mike Payton is here. POD_Payton on Twitter. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm just here to get liked.
I'm sorry, not one of my best intros. You know what? I'm a little flustered. Not usually in the driver's seat here, but as I mentioned, Lions just got blown the heck out of their own stadium, 47-7. We'll touch on it here at the beginning, but I do, again, want to talk about kind of the week in whole. We'll talk a little bit about Brayden Coombs because we didn't really get a chance to do that yet on the podcast. We'll talk a little bit about the latest in the Lions GM search as well, and a little bit of the COVID stuff that got the Lions into this horrible spot where they are. But let's first just talk about takeaways, quick takeaways from this game. Ryan, I want to throw it to you first since we didn't have you last week. What was your main takeaway from whatever this was?
My biggest takeaway from Saturday's loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was that our worst fears are confirmed about the defense. It needs to be completely overhauled from top to bottom at every single level. I don't know if there was a player that was on that field that needs to be a Detroit Lion next year. Flat out. I mean, I don't think that they would stand to miss any of the players out there. Amani Oruwariye, Duron Harmon, Tracy Walker, it doesn't matter. I mean, name a name, and I am telling you that I don't know if they make a difference next year for the Detroit Lions. And you know what? That might be a little short-sighted, and that might be a little reactionary, because I think that the problem with this defense is that as a whole, they're very, very bad. And there might be some parts that might be worth it, but I don't know if might be worth it is going to cut it for the next regime. Like, you need guys who are going to for sure make a difference on that defensive side of the ball, because it's so clear that to say that they were a sieve is a shot at sieves. Yeah. Truly. I mean, it was really, it was bad. Like, how does Mike Evans have 4, 5, 6 yards of just bubble of space of nobody near him? He's Mike Evans. Same goes for Chris Godwin. Same goes for Robert Gronkowski. I mean, holy smokes. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a harsh but earned criticism. I think maybe the only guy you could make an argument for is Romeo Okwara, and he didn't show up until the fourth quarter on the stat sheet, really. So I love the guy, but I don't know if he's certainly not like a centerpiece of a defense.
And that's the thing about Romeo Okwara, right? Is that we're not sure if he's going to be a sustained level of play guy, and that's something that we've kind of talked about all season long. And you know, his play this year, I mean, if you add up all the numbers and you are his and you're his agent, you're definitely looking to get paid. Do you want to pay Romeo Okwara when you're not sure if you're going to get the guy who can get 3, maybe 4 pressures in a game, or the guy who goes absolutely AWOL and then shows up in the fourth quarter? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, you need players on the defensive side of the ball, and it didn't look like there were any on Sunday.
And you also have to factor in that the Lions are pretty tight with the salary cap right now, depending on, they might cut some guys next year that'll free up some cap space, but we'll talk about that down the line. Mike, let's move to you. What was your main takeaway from Saturday's game?
I think it's pretty clear we should table the talk about trading Matthew Stafford or releasing Matthew Stafford or whatever it is, because when this team doesn't have that quarterback, Matthew Stafford, they are just an unbearable shit show, and it doesn't get any worse than I mean, Chase Daniel's horrible, right? Somebody should give that guy, his agent, like an award of some sort or some sort of cash gift, because for him to continuously get that guy signed for like the last 28 years, despite him being as bad as he is impressive. David Blau, who you and I talked about a little bit earlier, I thought he looked okay. You thought he still looked horrible. But anyways, the point is, Matthew Stafford seems to be the only thing about this team, the entire team, that is a sure thing, I guess you could say. And I think the Lions would be insane to get rid of him. And today we got a glimpse of what that could look like if they did get rid of him.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It's around this time of year, it seems we always kind of get that short reminder that this actually could be worse. And without Matthew Stafford, it is worse. It was worse at the last 8 games of the season last year. When Stafford was going through some hand injuries a couple of years ago, things were not so good. And now again, we've been treated to now Chase Daniel in 3 straight games now he's appeared, but not started, and it hasn't been great. Chase Daniel was very, very bad. Did not provide any sort of spark out there. Offensive line wasn't doing him many favors in this game either, but there was just nothing. They didn't cross the 50-yard line until way into the fourth quarter. It's hard to put a huge amount of blame on anyone other than the defense in a day in which they were just so god awful. But usually we at least have the offense giving them some sort of break, getting a first down here and there, scoring a point here and there. The offense, again, if you need a reminder, put up exactly 0 points in this game. And that's not going to win you a lot of ball games, even if you had a defense worth a damn.
Well, I have a little bit of a hot take about Matthew Stafford today.
Okay.
I wanted him to come back into the game.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I wanted Matthew Stafford back in the game for the exact reason that Mike just said this team is an absolute tire fire.
Okay.
Or as he said, to quote him, a shit show without Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
That's what we had to watch on Saturday. Without Matthew Stafford playing, This game wasn't worth watching at all, bar none. So, if the guy could have gotten on the field, and I know that he did everything in his power, so I'm not trying to say that he didn't do enough to get him back out on the field. But what I am saying is that if he could have gone, I wanted him out there. I didn't want to protect him. I didn't want to have him not play because he had the rib injury and because he had the thumb injury and now the ankle injury that ultimately led him to not play for the rest of Saturday. I wanted Matthew Stafford on the field because otherwise, as already outlined, the Lions had no chance today. And what are the Lions worth watching without Matthew Stafford?
Well, let me ask you this. When he came back out of the tunnel, I believe it was 27-0. At that point, would you want him back in the game?
Did you like watching the rest of the game with Chase Daniel and David Blau?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I'm here to be entertained, right?
Okay.
I'm here to be entertained by the Lions, and the most entertaining quarterback, one of the most entertaining quarterbacks in the league is Matthew Stafford. And to not be able to watch him play, it sucked. And it made, and today suffered because of that. So
I'll allow that take. I didn't want to see him in there at that point. 3 injuries at the time. Just protect him. Maybe get him well enough so we can see him in the finale. Because I feel like you throw him in there with 3 injuries, maybe we don't see him at all next week.
Yeah, that's fair point. But what a competitor, right? The amount of tape that was on that guy's ankle, it would have made all of my hockey sticks blush.
And you have to imagine that it probably hurt a hell of a lot, and he did play another play. Didn't it happen on second down, I think. So he, again,
oh yeah,
with
and he
3 injuries.
he still threw the ball on third down, yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. All right, I'm going to get to my takeaway really quick, and then we'll move on to a bigger question about the game. My take is just there's no excuse for what happened. I don't care that the Lions were missing half of their defensive roster. I don't care that they were missing all of their defensive coaches and Darrell Bevell. They had a week to prepare for this game. The coaches there, too. I mean, I know they weren't in the building, but they were watching the games. They were developing game plans. They knew pretty much who was going to be in and out the game for them. That does not at all excuse what the hell happened in that game. 47-7 absolutely should not happen at the NFL level, period. I don't care how many injuries you've got. I don't care. I mean, listen, the Lions are going through a lot of injuries. Yes, that's true. But the Lions they didn't do themselves any favor at any point in the offseason. You pay Chase Daniel all that money, well, guess what you suffer with? Chase Daniel throwing balls into the turf and taking unnecessary sacks because he has no vision. You decide that Jamie Collins is your best player on defense, a 30-something-year-old linebacker. Well, guess what? Now we have to have Jared Davis on the field all the time because you didn't get anyone else good. Your secondary is horrible, filled with slow, bad players that can't hold a candle to anyone on that team. I think every single receiver on the Bucs scored a touchdown. That's what it felt like. And a lot of those guys are starters. Like, a lot of those guys are guys you expected to rely on. Jaron Kearse is a guy you expected, Duron Harmon is someone you expected to rely on. Tracy Walker is a guy you expected to rely on. These are guys that were supposed to be cornerstones of this defense. Jelani Tavai is a guy you drafted in the second round. This is your fault. And it should never have gotten to this point. And I don't want to hammer on the interim coaches and everyone who's they were given the worst hand they possibly could have gotten. And I feel bad for those guys. They should never have been put in that position. Evan Rothstein, the most unfortunate person on earth, having to be dealt that defense and be like, here, call your first NFL game. You've never called plays before? Good luck. Do it. But even
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Even that's not an excuse. It really isn't. Because that team was just so embarrassingly bad right now that they're playing the worst football in the NFL. Right now, this team is playing like the worst team in the NFL. The Jets just won a game. The Lions haven't looked competitive in 2 months. It's horrible. It's unexcusable. I hate it. I'm glad we only got one more of these left. The Vikings sure look like dog shit, too. They combined to give up... Lions and Vikings, first 2 games of the week, gave up 99 points together. Who's going to want to watch that game?
It's gonna be a tough sell. It's gonna be a tough sell for sure. The one thing I want to ask you, Jeremy, should Bob Quinn ever work again in the NFL?
He'll take some low-level job with the Patriots again and probably never really see the light of day as a general manager again. I can't imagine. And I don't want to bury the guy that much. Like, there were some good moves he made. I'm sure I can think of them if I sit here long enough. But I mean, this team is just a disaster right now.
I mean, yeah,
you gotta bury him. You gotta bury him because he's the guy that picked everybody. And not only is he the guy that picked everybody, he's the guy that nurtured everything that Matt Patricia did to this team over the last 3 years. I mean, you gotta bury that guy. Bury him as deep as he can be buried. Yeah,
I mean. And we talked a little bit about it in our pregame show. I mean, this offense, for some reason, was built, again, to stop the run. You sign Halapuli Vaitai all and give him all that money because you want him to be a great run blocker for this new amazing run offense you're going to have. And, of course, that never comes to be. The Lions are averaging just over, I think, 4 yards a carry. Wow, great. And Halapuli Vaitai, horrible in pass protection, barely even got to play this year, gave up a really bad sack in this game. It all compounds on each other. Jesse James, like, how many times do we have to go through bad free agent signing after bad free agent signing, draft pick after draft pick where you're not getting top value out of it? I mean, it's embarrassing, and it leaves you with a game like this. It was inevitable that something like this was going to happen.
It was really befitting that the very first drive by Tampa Bay, right? Third down play, ends up in a sack, Jelani Tavai, and then it's wiped away because of an Everson Griffin offsides. And then And then what? It's a Rob Gronkowski touchdown like 3 or 4 plays later. Yeah. Like, that was just so befitting of like, hey, look, fool's gold.
Yeah, right? There's a little bit of hope, and it's immediately gone. And it's gone. And yeah, I think that I want to see if I can find that quote from Bruce Arians, where he basically said, like, okay, here we go. Bucs coach Bruce Arians on Lions penalties, offsides, false starts that negated their sack against Brady on the opening drive and stunted the next possession on 4th and 1. There's no doubt their discipline or lack thereof helped us tremendously. I mean, and part of me, I mean, maybe you want to say that's on coaching a little bit, and maybe it is, and maybe if the Lions were in a different situation this week, then things would have gone a little bit better, but it certainly wouldn't have changed the outcome, which is going to lead into the next point, the one thing I want to talk about before we head to the break and put this game behind us and never speak of it again. Let's talk about the COVID stuff. Let's talk about whether the Lions got screwed or not. The Lions coaches, obviously, they had to quarantine for 5 days. Saturday was that 5th day. They had the close contact. It appears no one else tested positive, just the one personnel guy and one player. So on Thursday, I want to say, Darrell Bevell says, we tried to make something work with the league. They wouldn't postpone the game till Sunday. Did the NFL do the Lions dirty?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this was all about a rating. That's all this was. They flexed this game back a couple weeks ago. And if the Lions were playing the New York Jets here, they would have moved it. But Tom Brady, they're not going to push back Tom Brady on the Saturday after Christmas when they need to bump a rating. They needed this game to happen. And they didn't, frankly, care what happened to the Lions on that end, because the only thing that they wanted was for Tom Brady to go out and do exactly what Tom Brady did. And that's the only reason, in my opinion, why they didn't bump this game back. All about ratings.
You agree, Ryan?
I agree. And at the same time, I don't care. I didn't really care. I didn't care that they didn't bump the game back, because it wasn't going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that if Darrell Bevell was there, and I think you kind of mentioned this, or at least alluded to it a little bit, Jeremy, was that like it wasn't going to matter if the Lions coaching staff was 100% in attendance. Like, they game planned for a week. The coaches who, ended up actually patrolling the sidelines on Saturday, they had the game plan. They were ready to go. But did any of them plan for Matthew Stafford to get injured in the first drive of the game? I mean, whether or not they played Saturday or Sunday, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that rips is that the darkest of all possible timelines? Does that rip through space and time? I don't know what happens there, but like, ultimately as a Lions fan, it just made me like shrug, like, okay, like, I don't know if this is the NFL screwing the Lions so much as it was just them being a victim of circumstance. Yeah. Like, let's say Matthew Stafford gets put on the COVID list. Let's say the Lions are without all their quarterbacks. Well, now all of a sudden you have another situation on your hands where it's like Hinton in Denver. Right. Like, was the NFL going to allow that to happen again? Maybe they push things back because they realize how bad of a game that was. But they didn't really have any precedent for coaching staffs, did they really?
No. This was definitely the first. I mean, this is the first game any head coach has missed due to COVID. There's not a precedent there. I will say, though, that while it seems like the NFL has been a bit, let's say, inconsistent with how they have been enforcing COVID, if you heard their explanation, it does make some sense. Part of it is that a lot of the times when they move the game, like the Baltimore game, they got moved to Wednesday or whatever. Mm-hmm. They were dealing with an ongoing outbreak. Every day it seemed more positive tests. So it was a safety thing. The Lions, on the other hand, did not have that. They had one batch of positive tests on Monday, and that's it. No breakout. Didn't seem like an inherent risk, and so they didn't move the game. And some people want to cry foul, say, if this was a team in the playoffs, they wouldn't have moved it. Well, look at the breaking news today, Saturday. The Browns. Entire wide receiver core is getting wiped out. That game still is planning on going on, at least as of this recording. I know you look at the Broncos, you look at the Lions as the first two examples. Outside of that, two bad teams didn't do them any favors. But I get it. I get it from the NFL's point of view. That being said, it does still feel a little bit unfair that this was a game that very easily could have been played Sunday. It got moved to Saturday, essentially, earlier in the year. It wouldn't have really, messed with the Bucs schedule that much, wouldn't have messed with the Lions schedule. I mean, they could have figured this out early in the week so that both teams could have prepared. They got those positive tests on Tuesday. They had 3 or 4 days to work it out and let teams know, hey, we're just going to move this back a day. It's not going to be a big deal. Change of travel plans, whatever. It all could have worked out easily, and I don't feel like it would set a bad precedent where they're just like, oh, well, now you're giving the Lions an advantage that you didn't give the Broncos or anything like that. Well, no, it was just one day. And I don't know, maybe that is a little too much, but overall, like everyone said, wouldn't have made a difference. This team still would have gotten blown out. It's unfortunate, and sure, maybe it's an opportunity for tinfoil hatters to add a little notch to their bedpost or whatever. But in the end, probably didn't matter much. It's unfortunate. Lions, get on the bad side of things. Set another history of ways to lose without half your coaching staff. It's something I've never heard before, but it is what it is. This team, I mean, most of y'all are rooting for this team to lose now, right? Anyways, so shrug.
Shrug is right.
Shrug is right. All right. With that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to dig into the Braden Coombs stuff a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about more COVID situation, but mostly get into the general manager situation. Because if you forgot, the Lions also, amid this week from hell, interviewed 3 general manager candidates. We're going to talk about maybe how this week may have impacted their ability to hire one of those guys. So we'll be right back on the PODU cast. Stick with us. Lefty Detroit, we got something to talk about, my friend. You just dropped 25 gifted subs to the channel and saved the mustache for one more week.
I love it.
Yes!
Lefty Detroit, you goddamn legend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lefty
amazing.
Detroit.
You didn't have to do that, but you are amazing. That was so great.
Well,
Well,
Lefty, the thing is, before we got on stream, I told Jeremy that if somebody wasn't going to do it, I was going to step up and throw 25 gifted subs at the channel. So, thanks for saving me some coin.
y'all better
And
start.
saving the mustache.
You guys got to start saving up for next week, though. It's 80 next week, or I would argue maybe just save your money for Thursday when we're doing our Twitch Sings karaoke. And we'll be doing it for some charity. I haven't decided what yet, but I would argue it's better spent for whatever charity we're going to be doing that for, where we're going to be taking donations. Probably I'd say every $100 we raise, we'll probably do a little spin of the wheel of embarrassment and see how that goes. But yeah, if you definitely join us then if you're interested in helping us out there. But appreciate it, Lefty. That's extremely, extremely, extremely generous. Thank you. Anything else before we jump into the second segment? We can just knock this out, guys, so that we can forget about this and then just enjoy a football Sunday tomorrow without thinking about the Lions.
I'm totally on board with that. Right now, I'm keeping my eyes on the fact that Robbie Gould has given the Cardinals life twice now.
Really? What is he? Wait, is he on the Cardinals?
No, he's on the 49ers. He missed an extra point.
Uh-oh.
So he kept the Cardinals within 8, and then Kyler Murray threw an interception in the end zone. 49ers drive all the way down the field, get in field goal range, and he misses the field goal.
Oh, a 37-yarder, too.
Yeah,
Yikes.
a chip shot.
Wow.
I
The
think
Cardinals are really going to blow this and give the Bears a playoff spot, huh? Well, I guess the Bears have to play the Packers.
God, I hope not.
Week 17. Are the Packers going to be playing for anything?
Kyler Murray is down, and it doesn't look good.
He hasn't been good this year. Not that the injury has anything.
Not like
to
a
do with him not
rolled
being
up on his ankle type thing, is it?
Yeah. Yikes. Well, Robert Saleh.
Hey, 12 points. It's pretty good.
Looking good.
Pretty good. Chad, are we back on the Robert Saleh train? Yeah, Troy Barnes. Lefty dropped 25 on us. Never left the train, says Troy Barnes. You didn't even leave it a little bit when the Cowboys hung 42 on him or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. Not even a little bit. You weren't a little bit worried when the Cowboys and whoever their quarterback was, was it Red Rocket that game or no?
I think it was Dalton.
Not really, no.
I am not on the Saleh train.
Oh, let's get into that really quick before we get back. Whose train are you on? 2, why not Saleh?
I'm on the Braden Coombs train.
Okay, all right. Well,
bring that haircut. No, I don't.
Oops.
I don't really know. I like Matt Campbell. I like that. Or I think that.
Did you see him go crazy on the sidelines last week?
Yeah, I like that passion. I enjoy that.
Okay.
I don't want to retread. I don't want. I just don't want another NFL coach or coordinator.
Saleh's not a retread.
I know that he's never been a head coach. What I don't want is another situation that could turn out to be like Patricia, where we hire another coordinator who, I don't know, they're probably going to get blown out in week 17, and then they're going to only talk about that week 17 blowout forever, and then it doesn't work out, and then we'll all go back to remember that time they got blown out in week 17. I want somebody with fresh ideas, somebody new. I want an offensive coach who can hire a great defensive coordinator. I don't want another defensive coach.
Okay, so you're more focused on the offensive guys then.
Yes, because we see what happens when we hire a defensive coach. We get run, pass.
True, sometimes. But, I mean, we can all also agree that the defense needs the most work, right?
Right. No, Saleh's a fine – if they hire Saleh, I'm not going to be upset about it. I think he's a fine option. This is what I want.
Okay. All out. All right. I think we're ready to go. The 49ers lose that game yet? Or win that
49ers
game?
won that game.
It's already won. It's over. What happened at the end? Okay, Murray's still in. Oh, he was injured on the very last play of the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's on the ground right now.
Is he still down? Ooh. All right. By the way, the Bears now have an 84% chance to make the playoffs.
Ridiculous, man.
They have someone easy this week too, right?
No, yeah, they have Jacksonville, and I hope they lose to Jacksonville. That would fill me with joy.
But then they have the Packers in week 17, and the Packers might be fighting for that 1 seed. The big 1 seed this year, remember. That's the only seed that gets the first place.
I was going to say, alternatively, aren't they, if they win this week, though, aren't they in pretty good shape? Can they lock it up or no?
Do they have the tiebreaker over the Saints? That's the key. Did they beat the Saints? Yes, they did. So they might be able to wrap it up with a win. Unless Seattle wins.
I mean, we could see Jordan Love next week.
He would have to move him. He'd have to move his way up the depth chart.
He would. See, I think if Seattle wins, it's not clinched unless they beat Seattle as well, which they didn't. They didn't play Seattle. Seattle plays the Rams this week, so the Rams on a 1-game losing streak to the Jets. Anyways, all right. You guys ready to get back into it? I'll take that as a yes.
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 And we are back on the PODcast talking about the Detroit Lions week in hell that ended with the 47-7 beatdown by Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. But we're done talking about that. Let's rewind about a week ago when the Detroit Lions were in a much better place, only getting blown out by 21 points or so to the Tennessee Titans. In the aftermath, though, the Lions fire special teams coordinator Braden Coombs due to going rogue on a fake punt, not telling anyone about it. You guys have had a week to think it over. You've had a week to listen to Darrell Bevell's side of the story. You've had a week to listen to Braden Coombs' wife bury the Lions on Twitter. What are you guys thinking now? In retrospect, we've had 6 days to think on it. Did the Lions make the right move? Should they have done something else? Was this an offense worth maybe lightening the punishment for? What are your overall thoughts there? Let's start with Ryan again. What do you think?
You know, for as much as I disagree with the move to make the call there, right? Like I'm totally against what Braden Coombs did because I don't think you go above the head coach's head and make a decision like that in a game, like at any point, unless it has to do with player safety. But yeah, unless we're like in like a Sean Payton situation. But I think personally that Braden Coombs, it would have been really easy for the Lions to keep this under wraps. Would it have not been? Like, it would have been really easy for them to just not say that Braden Coombs did that, but to know that he did do that and to, I don't know, give him a chance to rebound from this, like have it be a learning experience. And because here's the thing, the Lions seem like they're really doing a job to rehab their outward appearance to everybody. Like, we keep on hearing culture. Like, even on the Saints broadcast last night, did you see the little graphic they threw up of Chris Spielman? They talked about him for a little bit.
I didn't hear what.
And yeah, so it was Aikman and Buck in the broadcast booth, and I think that they were talking about Spielman just because of his connection to Rick.
Sure.
And then they were talking about him as like a Fox analyst, and Aikman said, this is they went and got a throwback guy. Like, this is an old school guy who's going to come in there and he's going to rehab the culture, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. This is what it's about. It's about outward appearances for the Lions. So it would have been so easy to keep this on the inside, give a young guy who's up and rising a chance to learn from his mistake rather than punish him and do it so publicly in a way that a lot of people just scratch their heads and they're like, okay, but at the same time, who's making this decision? Like, it's Rod Wood. Rod Wood, the guy who knows nothing about football, admittedly. So why are we letting that guy make a decision about how we handle things internally?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think Braden Coombs should have essentially gone unpunished then, behind closed doors? Or what do you do there?
Oh, no, behind closed doors, like, he should have been reprimanded.
How?
How? Mm-hmm.
How do you reprimand him without it getting public? That's the tricky part, right? Like, you can't suspend him for a game. Otherwise, people are like, where's Braden Coombs? Why isn't he there? Maybe they don't notice. Maybe you can just, like, not have him in the game and see if people don't notice. But, I mean, what he did was a serious offense, no?
Yeah. I mean, you don't go above the top dog's head. But at the same time, wouldn't it be really easy to package it as, he conduct detrimental to the team, and it's something that we handled internally. Don't say anything. And even if it does get out and it surfaces and there's a bunch of hearsay about, oh yeah, Braden Coombs is the one behind, the fake punt, and he did it without Darrell Bevel knowing. Like, doesn't that sound like tinfoil hat stuff? Like, I mean, that's a rumor that can just whisk away in the wind, and then a year from now, people don't remember it. But now that it's like the reason why the special teams coordinator got fired, like, I'm never going to forget Braden Coombs because of that.
Fair. Okay. Mike, do you feel similarly?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, what Braden did was wrong. Absolutely. And he deserved to be punished, but not to the tune of being fired. And to kind of what Ryan's point, to kind of counter argument with Ryan here, is like, it's okay if everybody finds out about this and then you publicly fine him, reprimand him in some way, and that still gets out that same message that, hey, we're not putting up with any trouble anymore. We're not going to do that. I mean, I think that would work probably the same way. It would show how serious you are. But the biggest issue is, why are we as a franchise allowing an interim head coach to make a decision on whether or not to fire someone? And why is the president of the team listening to that interim head coach and then agreeing and also firing someone? I think it's really bad, especially if I'm a GM who's going to be coming into this team. I'm kind of looking over my shoulder now. I'm looking at Rod Wood, wondering how many decisions can I make without having to have him sign off on it, or how many decisions is Rod going to make without me knowing about it? The whole thing just feels dirty to me. I feel like you fine Braden Coombs publicly or behind doors, whatever it is, and then you let the next staff decide whether or not to keep him on. you can even give that next staff the knowledge of what Braden did, and then they can make that decision. But to make cultural decisions when you have no culture, it just looked really bad.
Yeah, and I do want to get into more what this whole week looks like for maybe a prospective GM candidate and all that sort of stuff. But I do want to play a little kind of devil's advocate, kind of how I actually feel about this, because I think one thing we all have to be very, very clear right now: what Braden Coombs did is a fireable offense. It is. Like, you broke rank. That is a serious offense in the middle of a game, in a pivotal part of the game. It's a 14-point game at that point in the fourth quarter. Lions are at midfield. I think they should go for it, but given Darrell Bevell's excuses at the time, he talked about the situation. Matthew Stafford had just taken a couple hits. He didn't think it was prompt to put the offense right back out there while he's still suffering from that rib injury. You don't jump rank. That's a fireable offense in any job to do something like that, to do something so drastic and disrespectful, essentially, to your interim head coach. Secondly, I want to give Coombs the benefit of the doubt because you said he's a first-time coordinator, all that sort of stuff, but you know better. He's got to know better. There's no chance he doesn't know better than to do something like that. And I don't know if you want to believe it or not, but the Lions seemed to put out to the media this wasn't a one-time thing. This was something they had sensed from him before, kind of being a me-first kind of guy. And you know who else is a me-first kind of guy? Matt Patricia is a me-first kind of guy. And so, smartest guy in the room kind of I know that eats at your craw, Mike, the smartest guy in the room
really does.
Syndrome. Well, what Braden Coombs just did was smartest guy in the room. Forget what my coach is saying. I'm going to do what's best for this team because I'm the smartest guy in the room. And so you have to kind of think like
being the smart.
That's bad culture. And whether you believe in all the buzzwords of culture and management and Lions pride, pride, whatever. Chris Spielman specifically said, not more than a few days before Braden Coombs made that decision, that everyone needs to be pushing in the same direction. Everyone needs to be speaking the same language. Everyone needs to be, lock in step. Communication has to be perfect. And he broke rank in one of the worst possible ways you could. So I get it. First of all, I don't think there's any argument that what Darrell Bevell did was what he absolutely should have done. He took a night to think on it. He went to Rod Wood and said, this is what I'm thinking. I think I got to fire him. Obviously, you have final call. You're part of the management team right now. But this is my... Can we all agree that was completely rational on Darrell Bevell's part? Yeah. And so if there is any sort of disconnect where the Lions screwed up here, it's again, and I feel like we need to have a Rod Wood hate corner on this podcast, but it's then on Rod Wood to make a very tough decision. Do you send a message right now that these kind of shenanigans are no longer going to work, are no longer going to happen in Detroit? Or are you going to say, listen, let's keep this on the hush hush. Let's tell the whole situation to the next GM, the next head coach. Sorry, Darrell, you're going to have to sit with this guy for 2 more weeks. Just ride it out and let the next guy make the decision. It's not an easy decision to me. And I get why Rod Wood did what he did because it was such a bad offense. But I'm also kind of with you guys in that this was an up-and-coming coach who was well-liked by his players, was getting a good product on the field, and suddenly he's gone and never coming back.
Oh, yeah. No, that bridge has been burned.
Can't have your players on Twitter live right in front of the world to see, questioning what the franchise they play for is doing. I mean, Jamal Agnew's response was, I think, everyone's response. I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And yes, I don't like the whole smartest guy in the room thing. But I think the whole thing about that smartest guy in the room thing that I don't like the most is you can't portray yourself to be the smartest guy in the room if you're losing or doing a bad job. And Braden wasn't doing a bad job. He can leave pomade all over the locker room. I don't care. LA looks hair gel, whatever he wants to put. I don't care. That had to have had something to do with it, if you ask me. The hair had something to do with it. But
if this is a hair-hating franchise, I'm done.
Yes, you are. I just still feel like, it was bad. In normal terms, it would be a fireable offense. But with 2 weeks left in the season, why are we making decisions with interim coaches and a president of a team who has said himself, I'm not a football guy. He's out here making football decisions. I just feel like you could have waited 2 more weeks, hired your new guy, have him made that decision. He probably would have made the same exact decision. Who knows?
Possible. Ryan, I'll give you the last word if you got anything left on this one before we move into the next topic.
I just wish whoever starts making the decisions for the Lions starts making ones that fix the defense. That's all I have to say.
Fair. All right. One quick other thing I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about how this all relates to the general manager search. The COVID stuff, I think maybe part of the reason why the NFL wasn't willing to budge is the fact that the Lions were potentially at fault here. Obviously, the trip to Nashville appears to be maybe what triggered it, and Nashville is one of the hottest places in terms of COVID right now. But reports also came out, unconfirmed necessarily, but reported by Detroit Free Press saying Lions broke a couple protocols. One coach was not wearing his contact tracer at all times. Another coach had an in-person meeting in his office, which is currently against COVID protocols. So you put that together with the fact that the Lions had to fire a special teams coordinator for breaking rank. How do you think, you're a general manager about to interview with the Detroit Lions this week. You see the COVID breakout. You see the guys not following rules. You see Braden Coombs not only break rank, but then the Lions decide to fire him with an interim head coach. I think you can view this one of two ways. I think you view like the Braden Coombs firing as like, hey, we're done with this nonsense. This is us turning a page. This sort of shit won't fly. Take us seriously now. Or you can look at this all as a whole and be like, wow, this organization doesn't know what it's doing. Like Meg said, maybe you think like, well, if Rod Wood is making these decisions, what sort of decisions is he making for me? I wouldn't necessarily go that far because right now the Lions don't have a general manager, so someone has to be making those decisions. And it's not just Rod Wood; it's the whole kind of the quad group of people who are personnel guys and all that sort of stuff. But you see everything that happened this week. You're about to interview with the Lions. Mike, what's going through your head before you even step in that, I guess, virtual room?
Again, first off, it's the Detroit Lions, right? And everything is already stacked against them, from history and just being the laughing stock, and then the fear that here I am interviewing for this job and I could be the next guy who screws it up. So much riding on it already. So to throw on the idea that maybe I'm not going to be able to fully trust my team president, and maybe this is a team that's not fully following the COVID restrictions during a deadly pandemic. I don't know, man. There's a lot of things going on there that would make me go, maybe Jacksonville is the way I should go, or maybe I should go over here or to Houston or to Atlanta. There's so much going on that isn't happening elsewhere that would make me want to make a decision that would not be to go with Detroit.
Ryan, do you feel the same way that this week definitely potentially hurt their opportunity to sway someone their way?
I don't know, because they lost, so they have a better draft pick. I don't know. When I think about things specifically related to the general manager, like the number one job is Jacksonville. I want to have the number one pick. I want to have Trevor Lawrence. I want to have a boatload of draft picks. I want to have a boatload of cash that I can spend how I see fit. Houston, there's a franchise quarterback who is about to enter the prime of his career in Deshaun Watson. There are jobs around the league, even Atlanta, like they have a lot of cleaning up to do, but they could do a lot worse than Matt Ryan, a guy who, is in the twilight of his career, but he can bridge the gap. There are so many Lions fans that want immediate change that can't really be affected overnight. And so for a general manager, I'm looking at that situation and saying, I don't know. Like if I sign my wagon to Matthew Stafford, it's a good decision, but it's not potentially a great decision. Like it could lead to my downfall. If I don't turn this franchise around, if I don't put my stamp on it and get it headed in a different direction, I'm going to end up like Bob Quinn. And I'm not saying that Matthew Stafford, whether or not you keep him, leads to that, but that's a huge influencing factor. And this is a guy who is getting injured every single year. I mean, the guy's body has just been through the absolute ringer. Like, this is no knock on Matthew Stafford. The guy is tough as nails. But at some point, you have to say, like, has this guy seen too much football? Like, it happens. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, and I think your kind of overall point there that maybe in retrospect, this is just a blip on the radar with the Lions. There's so many more issues personnel-wise in terms of digging this team out of the franchise hole that they're in right now. That is a big job. The whole culture stuff, maybe that sort of stuff is kind of overblown and overhyped. It's really just about personnel, and this team is in a really big hole right now.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot to say about that, Jeremy. If you're gonna charge the general manager with having to come in and change the entire culture, like, and then to have that culture work, because that's the other thing too, right? Like Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, they changed the culture all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a really tough job.
Yeah. And with that very, very positive outlook on the Lions' future, let's take a break. We're going to talk about the specific general managers that the Lions did hire, plus a new name that has been thrown into the mix. So stick around. We'll be right back on the Week from Hell from the Detroit Lions PODcast.
I still think Stafford might retire. Really do, man.
Why would he even try to play today if he didn't love still playing the game?
Because he wants that. Because look at Calvin, had his big send off, and we knew it was going to happen. Against the Bears that day. He wants the send off, man. I'm telling you, he plays on Sunday. I think there's a 28% chance he decides to retire.
28.
Because
did I say hire?
28%.
Did I say they were going to hire 3 guys or interview these 3 guys? Did I mess it up, chat?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention to you.
Whatever. I make mistakes.
Y'all do.
One time.
And just like Braden Coombs, get the hell out of here, Jeremy. You can get off the podcast. That was your one shot, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Coombs has only got himself to blame. I did want to, speaking of that, I wanted to answer a question from JJMFH who asks, do we know for a fact that Wood didn't discuss this firing with Chris or Barry or anyone else? We don't know for sure. I know a couple reporters reached out and said Chris Spielman absolutely was not involved. He doesn't apparently even have an office in Detroit yet. So I think it's safe to say Chris Spielman wasn't involved. I would think Barry Sanders is not involved in that sort of thing. He's only being hired as a consultant on the general manager and head coaching search. But let me read you exactly what Darrell Bevel said. So he says, I thought long and hard about it last night. I ended up talking to Rod Wood. I told Rod what my thoughts were. And then Rod and the rest of the leadership group made a decision and helped me with that decision. So what that tells me is that he talked to the other 4 guys kind of in that general manager group that we talked about before when the firing happened. So I can't remember exactly all 4 guys, but one's Disner, one's the director of player personnel. Kyle O'Brien is one of them. I can't remember all 4 of them, but I think it's safe to say that it wasn't simply just Rod Wood making this decision. It was a couple people. But again, there's no guarantee that any of those guys are around in 2021. So there's a question to whether those guys should be making decisions that affect the 2021 team.
Much like the wide receiver core of the Detroit Lions. Who knows who will be there in 2021?
True.
Probably nobody.
Probably nobody.
Ryan, I asked Jeremy this. I'm sorry, I don't want to commandeer the chat here, but I asked Jeremy this earlier. Ryan, do you even want Kenny Golladay back?
Yes. Badly.
At what price?
What price? Yeah.
If he wants to get paid like a top 10 wide receiver in the league, I'll pay him.
$20 million?
Yeah, it's just like it can't be like Michael Thomas money.
Okay. What did
like
he get, 25?
He got a boatload of money guaranteed. I know that you're gonna have to double check the numbers on that, but I'm just saying, like, he can't be wanting to like reset the market and be like the top paid guy or like something crazy like that. I don't know. What did you say, Mike?
I like Kenny Galladay, and I'm going to say the same thing I said to Jeremy. He can make a great contested catch, and he can do some spectacular things, but he can't create separation. He continues. He keeps getting hurt. This wasn't the first time he got hurt. He got hurt last season as well. I say you take that first round draft pick, you go out there and you get yourself Waddle, and you build around him. That's your new wide receiver, your top guy. Go let somebody else pay Kenny the money he wants, because he's not going to get it here regardless, because he's going to have to ask for a smaller number with the injury and only playing 4 full games this entire year. I don't think he's going to stay regardless. I think he's gone, but yeah, that's how I feel.
Hey, I'm going to be honest. Kenny Galladay probably could play, in my opinion. That guy is making. That guy is making. That guy is. I don't have to be a doctor to know what's going on right here, man. Business decision.
You got a truther.
100% a business decision.
It's a bad
Why
one.
would that? Why? He's gonna get paid
because he's missing the last 9 games of the season. That sounds like someone I want to get out and sign.
Had a hip injury, man. But you know what? Give me that physical. I'm 100%. Throw on the tape. Watch what I do on the field on Sundays.
I won't have this. I won't have this talk.
Why would Kenny, and I am on board with this conspiracy theory. Why would Kenny Galladay want to play for a franchise that hasn't paid him yet? Why would he want to like
put more
worsen
tape out
that?
there?
Why would he want to need more tape? Dude's got enough tape out. This is his 3rd season.
Wow.
And I know he hardly played, but
it's more like 2.5. It's more like 2, really. I mean, he missed a ton of time his rookie season. He missed a ton of time this season.
So 2 full seasons worth of tape is not enough to know that Kenny Galladay's good at football. Stop
Reliable.
With a training staff. How are you faking an injury with a training staff? I mean, it's not possible, man.
He's not fake. I'm not saying he's faking it. What I'm saying is that, like, hold on, Lions in the playoff hunt, Lions in the playoff picture, Lions playing for an NFC North title. Maybe Kenny Galladay is a competitor, but he hasn't had a chance to show that he's a competitor, really.
None of us are ever proven right, but I think that's bullshit.
This and more if you keep on tuning in to the Twitch streams.
All right. Please let's not get a wide receiver in round 1, QB depending on who is available. Otherwise, DE, please. I get that. Like I'm fully in on those high impact positions, but the guy has to be there, right? Stop chewing on your scab. Go lay down. Hey, go lay down. What are you doing? Quick, we need a Lane Kiffin take. No, Brendan.
We got to get Chris for that.
By the way, Brendan, I think I missed you. I forgot to thank you, Brendan. You have subscribed for 3 months in a row, not just 3 months in a row, but 3 months at a tier 2, which is extra special. So appreciate that. All right. And DJ Bean, thank you for the follow about a half hour ago. Sorry about that. Sorry I missed that too. Falling behind, chat. And we are back with the final segment of the POD cast of the Lions Week from Hell. We're going to try to turn the corner here, talk about some good stuff, talk about the future, talk about the Detroit Lions' 3 interviews that they completed this week for their general manager search. They interviewed Rick Smith. They interviewed Scott Pioli. They interviewed Thomas Dimitroff. All 3 of those guys we've covered on previous podcasts. We've talked to experts that know all about them. Now it's time to discuss them. Again, we didn't have you last week, Ryan, to kind of discuss what your rankings of them are. So I want that right now. I want your rankings of those 3 guys, who you'd prefer out of those 3, first, second, and third. Let's go with Mike this time. So Rick Smith, Scott Pioli, Thomas Dimitroff. Who are your guys?
I think I'd go Dimitroff number 1. he's a guy that's most recently built a Super Bowl contender. A lot of things fell apart in Atlanta. I don't necessarily put a lot of the blame on him for that. He's a guy, I think that what I love is fresh and interesting ideas, and he's a guy that has fresh and interesting ideas and knows how to plan for today's game. I love that. Secondly, I guess I would have to go with Scott Pioli because, I mean, a guy that's won Executive of the Year as many times as he has, that's something you definitely need to take into consideration when you're trying to hire a new GM. I like Rick Smith. He'd be my third guy. I have a lot of concerns about his draft ability outside of the first round, though, and I think that's why he's down as low as he is. But really, all three of these guys would be fine GMs for the Lions. I just think Dimitrov's the way to go.
Ryan, we've talked a lot about it already, but I'm curious to see if anything's changed after the interviews that we've done over the past couple weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if anything has really changed. I think I have kind of had my mind made up about each of the guys. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be my top guy. My number one guy is Rick Smith. Mm-hmm. I'm most interested in him just because he seems like a really good human being. And I think that that's going to be really important in rehabbing this Lions culture. I think it, and their image too. Yeah. To put it more succinctly. So, it's going to be really important that whoever comes in for the general manager job is able to do that. And I think Rick Smith is. Are there questions about his drafting after the first round? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know if you can find the perfect general manager. I mean, even look at what Bill Belichick has done recently. I mean, the reason why the Patriots are so bad isn't just because Tom Brady left. It's because they've been pretty bad at drafting for the past 5-6 years. So I'm not going to hold that against him. And he moved up and he pulled the trigger, and he was the guy who called it on Deshaun Watson, and he absolutely hit a home run with that. So for a franchise that, and I know, Mike, you're not interested in having this talk at all, but for a franchise that has to start thinking about life after their current quarterback, that's a big feather in his cap. Thomas Dimitroff is number 2 for me. I liked what Mr. Ledbetter had to say on our preview podcast that we did with him. About Dimitroff. I like his versatility and that he's had to work with different coaches in different capacities, like that really weird wrinkle with Dan Quinn about having final say on the 53-man roster. That's something you really have to work with, and you almost have to game against your coach. It's well, I get final call on the 90, and I'm going to keep these 90. So do with it what you want. Right. So if I'm Dimitroff, do I just keep 12 wide receivers on the 90-man roster or something something wild like that? But the guy that I'm for sure at number 3, I really hope the Lions will hire him, is Scott Pioli. And I know that Mr. Ledbetter had a lot of nice things to say about Scott Pioli and what he does in communities and things like that. With that being said, that's the guy who took over in Kansas City and got Matt Castle and hitched his wagon to that. Yeah. And that might be the biggest blemish on any of those guys' resumes. Can we think of the biggest detractors for each guy? Mike brought up, Rick Smith's drafts past the first round. I'm going to say Dimitroff, paying Devonta Freeman. That was a pretty big mistake. Yeah. Not being able to really build a defense.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And I would say with Rick Smith, I think you can also point to Osweiler as one of his big mistakes. Big mistake, but was able to weasel his way out of it, right? Yeah. Yeah. He did get himself into quite a pickle and then slip out of it. But yeah. I have the same order as you, Ryan. The one thing, the only things I'll really add, I feel like I've talked about my crush on Rick Smith plenty at this point. The fact that he did pound the table for Deshaun Watson and was aggressive in getting him as well is a plus, and it's something that he might have to do here in Detroit. The one thing I do want to say though with Dimitroff, and again maybe this is thinking a little bit too far ahead, but I'm with you. I'm concerned. I was more concerned about him after our interview with Mr. Ledbetter. But the one thing that it got me thinking is he built a pretty darn good offense. He got a lot of really talented offensive skill players, And now I'm already kind of playing mixing and matching here, but let's say a guy like Robert Saleh is hired and he brings along, the Mike LaFleur. Well, guess what? Now you have a Thomas Dimitroff who had years and years of drafting for a Kyle Shanahan offense, and suddenly you have a Kyle Shanahan disciple as your offensive coordinator. There's a nice little match there. There's a nice little comfort level between your general manager and your offensive coordinator, which is exactly, again, what Chris Spielman is talking about, kind of that top-down, everyone on the same page, pushing in the same direction. Everyone understands. And then you can also kind of make that argument for Scott Pioli, because he was right there along Dimitroff with the Falcons for the past few years. And I'm with you too. Like, Pioli's history, both with the Patriots and Kansas City, concerning, very concerning. But it has been decades since he's done that. He has helped build his resume. Then he's hopefully grown as a person. And again, we're just talking about retreads at this point, and because it's the only guys that the Lions can currently interview, and so we're only kind of looking at a piece of the puzzle here. But I think like Mike said, all three of these guys are talented. They all bring something to the table, and I don't think they would avoid the mistake that they made with Bob Quinn, which was trusting someone who had been in the same place his entire career, had no general manager experience. These three candidates are none of that. Most of them have been in multiple places. Most of them have either had GM experience or very close to it. And so I think all of them would certainly be an upgrade over Bob Quinn. Can we agree on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we can absolutely agree on that. Can I say the one other thing in case anybody missed the Rick Smith podcast? My favorite little nugget from our interview with
Aaron Olsen.
Yeah, him, that guy. Anyway, my favorite Rick Smith tidbit was the story about Arian Foster and the scout who, said, here's this guy from Tennessee. Let's bring him in. He's an undrafted free agent. I think this guy could be our running back. And he works from practice squad to being, a Pro Bowl running back. And Rick Smith points his finger and says, like, don't give me the credit. Like, it's the scout who did that. Like that scout called for Arian Foster. I think that level of credibility, I think that level of gratitude, that earns you a lot of goodwill with the staff. And if you want to build a culture that's all about being connected and all working with one another, Rick Smith is the guy, I think.
Plus, if you're getting a running back,
not just that, but the willingness to. Not just that, but the willingness to listen.
Right. Yes.
Listen to your scout.
Trust other people. And that's what Chris Spielman said. He said part of, being a good leader is hiring good people around you and letting them do their jobs. And so he let his scout do his job, listened to him, and said, you know what? You're a smart guy. Let's listen to you. Let's not feel threatened by you and listen to you. I was going to say the fact that they picked up a starting running back after the draft, undrafted, that's what earns brownie points with me. If you're not spending a day one or day two draft pick on a running back and you get someone nice undrafted, that's what I'm talking about.
It's about listening to the right scouts. The scouts that are screaming about Brian Calhoun, you have to silence those people.
Especially if you don't even know who it is. It's just someone screaming it in the back of the room. Last bit of news about general manager. A new candidate has emerged as ESPN and NFL Network are reporting that the Lions are going to interview Brad Holmes, who's the current Rams director of college scouting. Now, considering he's still employed by the Rams, the Lions aren't going to be able to interview him until the regular season is over. But due to the new COVID rules, as soon as the regular season's over, even though the Rams look like they're going to be in the playoffs, the Lions will be able to conduct a virtual interview, and the Rams can't deny it. So it looks like that'll again, I'm speculating here because Lions haven't confirmed anything, but looks like ideally they get that interview done in 2 weeks. Do you guys have any initial thoughts? I don't know if you guys dug deep on this guy yet, but any initial thoughts on kind of a young up-and-comer kind of name in Brad Holmes?
Yeah, I don't know anything about him necessarily, but it sounds like another Bob Quinn. Sounds like another let's go grab somebody else's scout because they drafted well or whatever over there. I want a guy with experience, and I want a guy preferably with good experience as a general manager, not as a player personnel scout, a college scout, whatever else that you got there, team president. I don't care. he may be a guy who turns out to be a great GM somewhere, but I don't want to be the team that risks it.
Ryan, you got any big opinions on Holmes?
I got a big opinion, and his name is Aaron Donald. And that's a guy who he might be one of my favorite NFL players, and he might go down as the most dominant defensive player of all time. And Brad Holmes was the guy who was kind of leading the charge on Aaron Donald. So Mike has something to say.
Counter to that, I've got a guy named Todd Gurley who was also drafted by the same guy. And look how bad Todd has turned out to be. Not only that, but who wants the guy who's going to go risk your number one draft pick on the ACL guy?
But I mean, to be fair, Todd
Gurley's slander. Absolutely,
his Rams career was absolutely good, if not great.
It was all time good.
It was good, and then it was bad. And it was good, and then it was bad.
Hold on, I forget.
And it's really bad. Oh, here we go. We go. Yeah, Ryan, it's opening back up. Let's do this.
I forgot. Mike has this little shtick he does where he says Todd Gurley was not like an all-time running back in terms of talent, and the guy literally should have won MVP. And name the last running back who won MVP.
Certainly not a Lions. Well, probably maybe it was a Lions running back, but it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been
Arto Spinner.
It's been a while. The thing with Todd Gurley though is that they at least they knew like when to cut bait. I mean, but also that Rams Super Bowl run. Do we see what happened in the Super Bowl when they had no Todd Gurley? Like he was otherworldly. He was the best running back in football, bar none. So I don't know if I'm going to say that that was a bad draft pick because they got the best running back in the NFL at a certain time.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to slam Brad Holmes for anything, you have to remember that Aaron Donald was their second draft pick in that draft. Their first one was Greg Robinson with the second overall pick.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
But again, this isn't a situation where it's all on Brad Holmes, or you can't give him all the credit and give him all the blame. He's just kind of a cog in a wheel over there, but an important cog. Now, and I want to bring this to my overall take on Brad Holmes, and it's a positive one for the Lions because to me it shows they're not just interviewing the obvious candidates. They didn't need that search for him. They're doing enough research right now in house to get a guy like Brad Holmes an interview. And I think it's worth bringing a guy like him an interview. The Rams have drafted, in general, I would say exceptionally well in the past couple of years. Cooper Kupp, really good guy. I mean, and you're talking like first 2 rounds of the draft, first 2 days, I should think, of the draft, getting impact players almost across the board. And so, getting this guy an interview who wasn't on a ton of, general manager candidate lists in the media, wasn't necessarily on a lot of people's radar, that's showing to me that this is a pretty damn thorough search. And that makes me a little bit more at ease of what the Lions are doing. That's it. That's all I got to say. I mean, we can sit here and pretend like we know what Brad Holmes especially did. There was a nice article in The Athletic that talked about, his kind of role there. And like you said, his role in, doing some extra scouting on Aaron Donald and making sure they were that was their guy. But overall, I just think it's a good sign that the Lions are digging deep in their general manager search. And now, they're 7-8 interviews deep, essentially. So certainly did a better job, at least being more thorough than they did last time. I'll give you the last word, Ryan. You were leaning in. I thought maybe you had something to say.
I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that we're happy with the Lions casting a wide net.
Yeah.
That they're exhausting all the resources and they're actually doing their due diligence on a bunch of people rather than and Jeremy, you would know better than me, but it seemed like Bob Quinn was pretty much like the guy. Were there a whole lot of other interviews or
by most accounts they did 3 interviews. Sheldon White, their internal guy, Bob Quinn, and then I can't remember who the third person was, but basically, what's his name was just like, this is the best GM interview I've seen. Go get him. Forget about everyone else.
So, I mean, you got to be happy with the Lions doing their due diligence and everybody's favorite adage of casting a wide net, but also not getting. It sounds like essentially with the Bob Quinn search, they just fell in love with Bob Quinn as like that guy. And then all of a sudden, like the third guy couldn't hold a candle to Bob Quinn. I'm glad that they haven't got their pants knocked off by, any of the other people that they've interviewed to the point where they are unwilling to at least hear what other people have in mind too.
Yep. Yeah, that's, to me, again, that's a big takeaway. The lines are being thorough right now, and that's all we can really ask of them at this point, because, again, there's a whole group of candidates that they can't even interview yet. Hopefully they'll get around to it. Hopefully they'll get hired eventually, somewhat soon, so that they can take part in all the off-season things. But so far, I would say so good with the Lions general manager search. Obviously, the only thing that matters is who they eventually hire, but the fact that they're doing much more due diligence this time around has to put some Lions fans' mind at ease. And I think that's going to do it for the podcast today. We'll end on a kind of positive note after the week from hell. Maybe things will turn around starting on Monday. But for now, thank you for listening. I want to thank Mike Payton for joining us on short notice. Again, follow him at POD_Payton on Twitter. Ryan, thank you for always joining us. Chris, sorry you couldn't be here. Keep your head up. I know holidays are tough for people that have to work through it. So until next time, we'll see you Starside. Okay, chat. We'll hang out for a little bit here while we finish things up. We're going to get rid of our Craigs. There goes one. Oh, they both left. Okay, perfect. Now Ryan has 2 Pride of Detroit logos surrounding him. That's pretty good. Keep it like that. We're just going to keep him there. Last running back to win the MVP. Didn't Lamar Jackson win it last year? Wow.
Oh.
Wow, Noah.
Ooh.
Man.
Ooh.
It ain't even right.
A lot of people hammering Mike for his Todd Gurley takes.
I will not stand for this hammering. You are all wrong, and I am right.
Todd Gurley rushed for 1,000 yards in 3 out of the first 4 seasons. He had 17 touchdowns in 2018.
The point, though, the argument. Can I just take a second here, please? Can I have a moment?
He had 788 receiving yards.
I'm not done yet. Listen, the point here was that Ryan and I had an argument after Todd's rookie year. Yes. I said his career would go down. He had a shitty second year. I was right. I'm a genius. I'm right for all time.
But then it went right back up.
On Todd Gurley takes.
He had a better third.
No, I didn't.
His third and fourth year were both statistically way better than his rookie season.
All right. Can we agree that he's really bad now, though?
I mean, I guess.
Do we all agree on that?
We can all agree that
he doesn't know how to. That's Brad Holmes' part.
He doesn't know how to stop at the 1 yard line. We can all agree on that.
I was going to say, I thought we were all huge Todd Gurley fans after this season.
I love Todd. He's great.
Chat, we've almost bounced up to 200 subs again because of your guys' amazing support today. 41 gifted subs, not to mention a bunch of resubs today. You guys have been amazing. You guys were also amazing during the Madden stream. I don't know if you guys got to check out the Madden stream, but the Madden stream was absolutely lit on Christmas Eve. That game was so ridiculously fun. If you haven't checked out our Madden Sims, well, there's only one left, but Saturday morning we'll do it. And man, it was so much fun on Christmas Eve. We got to figure out something to do during the off season with them to keep them going, though.
Can we?
I saw Stafford throw a hell of a ball.
He did. He almost got sacked, then scrambled and threw like a 40-yard pass down to Marvin Jones with under 2 minutes to go ahead in the game, and they scored 2 quickly.
Can we? Speaking of Marvin Jones, didn't he set a career high in receptions for the season
today?
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I didn't pay attention to anything that happened in that game after the first quarter.
I thought I heard Dan Miller say something on the radio because I was listening to this game on the radio. But
is it true that he said someone nationally, I think it was Chris Mortensen, quoted him?
Morton, yeah.
Saying
and said he did not say that.
He did?
And went on Twitter and
he did not say what?
He subtweeted Mort and said, Mort, you have 2.2 million followers. I did not say that. Tell them the truth or something like that.
Oh. Wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, there's a little bit of drama here.
What's going on?
Okay. So Chris Mortensen deleted the tweet at this point. But he said that Dan Miller said something like the Lions defense is playing like what? The JV team or
a
something?
junior high defense or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Mortensen got it right first, but then he corrected himself to say Dan Miller, and then Dan Miller says on Twitter, you have 2.2 million followers, correct yourself, I didn't say that. And then Mortensen does correct himself, saying it was Jim Miller on Westwood 1. I think Mortensen first said Jim Miller, and then someone probably tried to correct him and say, no, actually, Dan Miller is the Lions radio guy. But since this was a nationally televised game, there was also a Westwood 1 broadcast, and it just so happened that the guy doing that broadcast also has a last name Miller, Jim Miller, who probably said that.
And a 3-letter first name.
We'll not deal with Dan Miller slander around here. We will not deal with Dan Miller slander. Just will not do it.
Yeah.
Also, yes, Marvin Jones did set a career high in receptions this season. He topped his career best in his last year with Cincy when he had 65.
There you go. Nice. Good for him. He might be. It's funny, like we're talking about all these, like the Lions need to completely blow up the team, and no one needs to come back. And then like they're two of their free agents, really three of their free agents: Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, and Okwara. All could make a pretty big argument for a nice little pay raise next year. Unfortunately,
They're all gone.
They're all gone.
Jeremy, can you put Todd Gurley on the Lions for your next Madden Sim and see how they do?
Do it. Yeah, let's do it. What a bet, Ryan.
Only if you two join me and fight over it the entire time.
I will be there, and I would like to. I think a wager is in order right now.
Oh, they're playing the Vikings. Shouldn't the Vikings' run defense be really bad?
I mean, we saw what Alvin Kamara did to him yesterday.
I need to make a fantasy confession. Why I'm so kind of riled up about Matthew Stafford not playing is I started him this week.
Oh. Well, I stand by my.
I have to make a fantasy confession as well. Todd Gurley's on my team.
Yes. Yes. Everyone. Chat is filled with a bunch of whys in relation to you, Ryan.
Well, guess what? So I have Kamara on my team too.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm sitting pretty. You know what? I'm gonna roll the dice on Stafford because I want a reason to like really be super invested in this game. And then as I'm listening to Dan Miller say like, oh, Stafford came up limping after that play. And I'm just like, no, like I don't like the guy's dealing with enough injuries as is. And then but here's my call. I was going to have to play Teddy Bridgewater against Washington and their defense.
You had a choice between Teddy Bridgewater? Teddy Bridgewater. Do I have to remind you who Teddy Bridgewater is?
I know, Jeremy, I wasn't myself today. I wasn't myself today. I went against all of my preferences. I went with Matthew Stafford.
Was this the finals?
Yes.
Or it was the third place game, be honest.
No, this is for the championship. This is for actually quite a bit of money.
All right.
Makes you feel better. I'm in the championship right now, and I got 2 points from Hawkinson and 5 points from Swift. And my other running back that I have to start for this game is J.D. McKissick.
Wait, how did you make it to the playoffs? How did you make it to the championship, riding Hawkinson and Swift? Hawkinson's been fine.
Well, hold on. I was going to say, you're talking about a Pro Bowl tight end, brother.
I don't appreciate the sarcasm in your voice, Ryan Matthews.
Because it's probably because I have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and I also got Calvin Ridley, and I've got an okay team. I'm going to lose this game. There's no way that I'm going to win with J.D. McKissick and T.Y. Hilton and Russell Gage.
All right,
but I limped here. I got here. I'm in the Super Bowl.
You guys are in the clear. Both of you are in the clear because Troy Barnes made the worst fantasy play of the week. He says he's got Mike Evans on his bench. Oh, Troy, what?
What are you doing?
What? Look me in the eyes and tell me and give me the rationale of why you just made that decision.
Maybe the only rationale is they have Godwin and they have Antonio Brown, and maybe Mike Evans might not eat, but even then, that's just bad.
You guys want to hear a really sad story? The guy I beat to go to the Super Bowl has both Alvin Kamara and Mike Evans in his starting lineup right now. He's got 91 points he has right now.
Troy's
unbelievable.
Troy's defense is he has Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins. First of all, is anyone else playing in your league? Is there literally anybody else?
What is that?
Is it a one-team league?
It's a 2-team league. Me and my third cousin, who's 12.
We're kidding, Troy. You're one of the it is a 4-man league. What? Is that a thing?
Oh my gosh!
Is that
Hold on.
How
can you even say like I'm in the championship game of a 4-person league?
Is that even? Can you even consider 4 people a league?
Oh, now
everyone's in the championship game of a 4.
Careful. Everybody's
in the championship game against a 2-10 team.
Okay, all right. See, that's insane.
This is the weirdest fantasy league I've ever heard in my life.
You couldn't scramble together like 4 coworkers or something. You didn't even have to like the people. It just.
I think that we're in dangerous territory where we might get clipped, and like all of this like talk about four-game playoffs is going to be linked to like college football.
Poor Indiana. Or Northwest? No, Indiana. Indiana got screwed, right? That's the thing that we're still mad about?
I think no.
I have no idea.
They didn't make the Big Ten championship, though, right?
Oh, yeah, they didn't. But their starting quarterback tore his ACL, so.
Oh, that's right. Can we get him just so we can have Penasini and Penix on our team?
Stop it. I got to go.
All right. Chat, go watch Sunday Night Football or Saturday Night Football or whatever's playing right now. Who doesn't want to watch Tua Tagovailoa take on the Las Vegas Raiders?
I want Mariota.
I
want Mariota back.
Tua is perfect right now. 1-for-1 for a yard. Electric.
God, they should have drafted
lines
him.
Would
man.
be 11-4.
Should have drafted him.
11-4 with him. All
question.
Right,
I want to go watch one.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Better linebacker, Tua Tagovailoa or Jelani Tavai?
Tua.
Bye, everybody.